In the center of the galaxy, inside a bright silver chamber, the Galactic Council sat around a glowing table. Over 50 alien races were present, some tall and thin, some short and armored, others glowing like fire or floating like jellyfish. Small screen at the center flickered. A message appeared. Earth has requested entry into the fleet trials. Silence. Then came the laughter. Deep, mocking laughter. High-pitched giggles, even robotic chuckles. It echoed through the chamber like thunder in a canyon. One insect-like creature from the Zoctal Empire slapped his wings against the table. Earth? They still burn dead trees for energy. A floating gas being named Voro swirled with laughter. They don't even have a proper gravity drive. How will they cross a single sector? An armored beast from the Threx Dominion growled, "Let them join. They will be entertainment. A small meal before the real games begin." The vote was quick. Earth would be allowed to send one ship to the fleet trials, the great test of war, survival, and power. But it was not a gift. It was a joke, a final insult. Far away, hidden deep under the red sands of Mars, Earth's last hope slept. It had no name. Not yet. Back on Earth, inside a large underground base, a woman in a plain gray uniform walked alone into a long, dark hallway. Her name was Commander Ilara Tran, and she did not smile easily. At the end of the hallway was a heavy steel door. Guards stood nearby, wearing black visors. "Open it," she said. One of the guards hesitated. "Ma'am, it's been sealed. For 12 years. Orders were to—" Ilara's voice was cold. That was before they laughed at us. The door hissed open. Beyond it was silence. Cold air. Dust danced in the beam of the lights. And in the center of the hangar, something massive rested beneath a black cloth. Ilara walked forward slowly. Her boots echoed on the metal floor. "This is it," she said softly. "The only one." A man stepped out from the shadows, old, thin, with shaking hands. His white coat had a faded Earth logo on it. "You're waking it up?" he asked. Ilara nodded. "It's not finished," he whispered. "It doesn't have to be," she replied. In space, dozens of alien fleets moved. They trained. They fired giant plasma cannons. They flew fast ships with glowing wings and silent missiles. Every eye was on the trials, and no one watched Earth, until something strange happened. All across the galaxy, deep space scanners picked up a signal. But it made no sense. It wasn't a wave, or light, or heat. It was silence, a perfect, clean silence, shaped like a signal. In the main observatory of the Galactic Council, alarms rang, the machines froze. Then one of the Council's supercomputers, built over 300 years ago, shut down without warning. No one could restart it. The only data it left behind was a single word, scratched into its glass screen. Awakening. Back on Mars, the black cloth was pulled away. The ship beneath looked nothing like anything in the galaxy. It was smooth. No windows. No wings. Just a strange curved shell, like glass and stone melted together. It pulsed with a dim blue light. "It's alive?" one engineer asked. Ilara didn't answer. She was staring at her own reflection in the ship's surface. The old man beside her said, "We didn't design this. We found pieces. We remembered it." "Remembered?" Ilara asked. He nodded. "Dreams. Old visions, hidden inside human memory, passed down through blood and time." "We didn't build it?" she asked. "No," he said. "We built around it." The ship powered on. There was no sound, no fire, no explosion. But across the galaxy things changed. Satellites twisted in orbit. Warp lanes bent. A star near the Zunari Empire began to spin, backward. And on the moon of Delvos III, an ancient artifact, buried for 1,000 years, suddenly glowed. Its carvings lit up with one word: human. Back at the council, panic began to spread. "This is impossible," shouted one member. "They cannot do this. Earth is primitive. They cheated. They summoned something they don't understand." Commander Elara stood inside the control room, watching the ship from behind glass. Her second-in-command, a young man named Kieran, stood beside her. "Are we sure it's safe?" he asked. "No," Elara said. "Then why are we doing this?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "Because they laughed." The fleet trials began 2 days later. All ships had to start from the outer ring of the Lorian system and reach the trial arena in Sector Null, a place full of black holes, dead stars, and hidden weapons. All other ships launched together, racing toward the center. Earth's ship sat still. It didn't even move. The alien broadcasters mocked them live. Perhaps they forgot how engines work. Maybe humans think they can teleport. They will arrive just in time to collect their ashes. Laughter filled the galactic channels. Then it happened. Without warning, Earth's ship disappeared. No flash, no sound. One moment it was there. The next, it wasn't. "Did it explode?" one alien commander asked. "No." "It's gone," replied his officer. Moments later, inside the trial arena in Sector Null, the ship reappeared. It sat calmly among the floating mines, black gravity wells, and killer drones. Silence fell. One alien screamed, "It broke the lane laws. That's forbidden." Another asked, "How did it jump through 5 systems without a gate?" The council demanded answers, but no one had any. Inside the Earthship, Commander Elara stood calmly, her hands behind her back. The ship was flying itself. No controls, no pilot seat. Elara looked into the blue light at the center of the ship. "Where?" "Did you take us?" she asked. A voice answered. It was soft, ancient, gentle. "Home." Later that night, on a small alien ship in a nearby system, a message was sent. The pilot looked pale, afraid. He spoke quickly. "This is Captain Koro of the Valen Watch. I saw the Earthship. It didn't fly. Space folded around it." He looked behind him, shaking. "It looked at me. I don't know how, but it looked at me and I..." He screamed. The transmission cut. The council called an emergency meeting. One member of the Trailan species whispered, "It didn't use fuel, or light or matter. It moved through thought." "They must be stopped," another said, "before they remember more." Back in the ship, Elara stood alone. She placed a hand on the smooth wall. It felt warm. The old man's voice echoed in her mind. It was never about power. It was about memory. The ship began to hum, not with noise but with feeling, like a song older than stars. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy felt fear, real fear. Not from war, not from death, but from something worse, a memory, a truth, something forgotten by all, except the humans. The fleet trials had started. Alien ships raced through black space, dodging asteroids and mines, testing their speed, firepower, and strength. The Galactic Council watched from orbiting stations. Every trial was recorded. Every move was judged. Earth had one ship, no weapons, no visible engines, no name. But it had already broken the first rule. It appeared in the arena without crossing the lanes, and now the aliens were afraid to say it out loud. Earth might be winning. Tune. The council chamber. Voices rose in anger. "This is impossible. They cheated again." "No, it's worse," said an old being with crystal skin. "They didn't cheat. The rules didn't work." Silence followed. No one wanted to say what they were thinking. The laws of space had bent. The fabric of reality had shifted. Not around them, but around a human ship. Meanwhile, in the Earthship, Commander Elara Tran stood in the observation chamber, watching the outside view. There was no window, just a thin stream of light showing. What the ship saw. It wasn't just a picture, it was a feeling. The ship was alive, and it showed them space like a dream. Kieran, her second in command, paced nervously. "Commander, new trial coordinates just came in," he said. She turned to him. "Show me." A strange map flickered into view. Unlike other trials, Earth's route didn't go through normal lanes. Instead, it passed through a red zone, a dead sector filled with old minefields, space storms, and wormholes. "No other species was given this route," Kieran said. Elara nodded. "They want us to fail." Quietly. Kieran frowned. "What do we do?" Elara turned to the ship's core, a blue light floating in midair. She didn't press buttons. She didn't type commands. She just asked softly, "Do you understand?" The light pulsed once, and the ship moved. In the Council's trial control room, alarms began flashing. "Earthship has entered the death corridor," shouted one alien officer. "They'll never make it," hissed a dark-shelled general. "No ship ever did, not even ours." But the Earthship moved like water through the field. Mines blinked and vanished. Wormholes closed before touching it. Storms parted like curtains. "How is it doing this?" The counselors screamed. No answers came. Only silence and fear. Elsewhere, on a hidden alien command ship, 4 powerful species gathered in a dark chamber. They were not part of the council. They were older, hidden, dangerous. They called themselves the core races. One creature, large and eyeless, spoke. "This human ship, it's not a machine. It's a message." Another, a silver being with a shifting face, nodded. "They have no idea what they are flying." A third creature spoke without sound, only thought. "Then destroy them before they remember." They all agreed. The trap would begin. In space, Trial Phase 2 was starting. This was the combat test. All trial ships were to enter the wastes of Volta, where they would face controlled enemy simulations. But when Earth's ship entered, there were no simulations. There was a real enemy fleet, 15 ships from the Drazak Syndicate, each with plasma cannons and missile arrays. "This isn't a test," Kieran said inside the Earthship. "It's an execution." Elara didn't flinch. "Then we'll pass it anyway." The ship still had no weapons, no shields, nothing but silence. The Drazak ships locked on. They fired. Blue missiles raced toward the Earthship. Kieran closed his eyes. But nothing hit. Instead, the missiles slowed, turned, and reversed. They flew back toward their senders. 2 Drazak ships exploded. The others turned to flee, but space bent around the Earthship. It folded like paper. And suddenly, the Drazak ships were gone, not destroyed, just gone. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Fleet commanders replayed the footage again and again. "There was no fire," said one. "No weapons fired," said another. "It just looked at them," whispered a third. Back on the Earthship, Elara sat silently in front of the glowing core. Kieran stared at her. "You knew it would protect us." "No," she replied. "I hoped it would." He looked confused. "Then why risk it?" "Because they tried to kill us. And we smiled when we walked in. That's what they'll remember." On a nearby salvage ship, a young alien named Vral watched the trial footage alone. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't a leader, just a tech boy in a small corner of the galaxy. But what he saw changed him forever. He watched the Earthship vanish and reappear. He watched its enemies disappear, and then, on one frame, just one, he saw something strange. A shape, a symbol, etched into the curve of the ship, visible for only a second. He froze the image. It wasn't human language. It wasn't any known alien text, but something inside him understood. One word, return. Vrall stood up slowly, eyes wide. "They didn't build this ship to win," he whispered. "They built it to remember." Back in the Galactic Council's war room, the debate turned to fear. If they are using forbidden tech, they must be destroyed. No. If we strike first, the core races will retaliate. The core races sent that trap. Then Earth survived something they weren't supposed to. An old counselor leaned forward. We laughed at Earth. And now, they might be older than us. Elara sat alone in her quarters. She looked at a picture on the wall, a small drawing of Earth, mountains, oceans, clouds. She whispered to herself, "What are you?" She wasn't talking to herself, she was talking to the ship. The soft blue light answered back, pulsing once. "Not what? When?" She stared at it. "What do you mean? When?" The light faded slowly like a sunset, and Elara felt something deep in her chest, a memory, not her own, a war long ago, a ship like this, drifting across galaxies and being buried in the red sands of Mars. The next morning, another message came. The final trial was set. But the location was strange. No one knew the name of the system. No one had ever been there. Not even the Council. But Earth's ship began moving toward it without a command. The Council sent a warning. "Do not enter the last trial. Turn back. Leave now." Elara read the message, then replied with one line. "We already walked into your trap. This time we're inviting you." In the dark chamber of the core races, the eyeless creature hissed. "They are waking it up too fast." The silver one's face shifted again. "We were wrong. Earth didn't steal the ship. They called it, and it came." As the Earth ship flew into unknown space, the stars began to shift. Gravity bent, time slowed, other ships followed, but they found only empty blackness. Only Earth could see the path, only Earth remembered, and as the ship passed into silence once more, the galaxies held their breath. The final trial was hours away, and Earth's ship was already inside the unknown system. No other ship could follow. No star maps worked, no scanners responded. Only the humans were inside. From the outside, the place looked like a dead zone. But inside, something ancient was waking up. Something older than the Council. Something the aliens had tried to forget. Commander Elara stood on the bridge, her hand resting on the soft light of the ship's core. It pulsed slowly. The trial was over. Earth had passed, but no one in the galaxy spoke of victory because no one understood what they had just seen. A ship without weapons had erased 3 advanced war fleets. It didn't fire. It didn't run. It only remembered. And now the most powerful beings in the galaxy, the core races, were afraid, but they didn't show fear. They showed power. They sent a god. Her name was Zahara the Boundless. She wasn't born. She was built, grown, and layered with power from a thousand star systems. Her body held neutron steel. Her mind stretched across time. Her eyes had seen the birth of suns. No single species had made her. She was the Council's final weapon, the judge of impossible threats. They called her a god because no one had ever survived her presence, until now. On the Earth ship, Commander, Ilara watched the void shift. Stars trembled. Something was coming. Kieran stood beside her, stiff and pale. That thing, it's not a ship. No, she said quietly. It's something else. Before them, space bent, then shattered like glass. From the fracture stepped Zahara. Her size made moons look small. She didn't use engines. She didn't speak. She simply appeared. On board the Earth ship, no alarms sounded, no warnings flashed, because the ship already knew what this was. A memory. Ilara turned to the glowing core. You know her? The soft blue light pulsed once. We were made to fight her. Long ago. Kieran whispered, and what happened? The light flickered again. We lost. Outside, Zahara raised her hand. She didn't aim. She commanded. A wave of pressure spread through the system. Planets cracked. Light twisted. Time staggered. Every ship watching from the edge of the sector went blind. Sensors burned out. Some captains screamed and jumped to warp, never returning. Others stayed, frozen in terror. But the Earth ship did not move, and Ilara did not blink. Instead, she stepped forward. Zahara, she said calmly. The being turned her head, curious. You were built to end us, Ilara continued. No, a deep voice thundered. I was built to stop you from remembering. Ilara looked down at the glowing core. It pulsed again. She nodded, then raised her chin. Well, I remember enough. Zahara's face cracked, not from damage, but from confusion. You are not a god. No, Ilara said. I'm a human. Zahara raised her arms. The system began to collapse. Gravity spun. Space turned to fire, and yet the Earth ship remained untouched. The glow at the center of the ship began to expand. Not fast, not violent, just wider. A quiet wave of light, reaching outward. Zahara hesitated, and then she saw it. Inside the Earth ship was not just energy, not just memory. It was a mirror, a perfect reflection of what she once was. And more. You carry the first pattern, Zahara said, voice trembling for the first time. Ilara nodded. I don't understand it, but the ship does. Then you are not ready, Zahara warned. Then why are you afraid? Ilara asked. Zahara opened her arms. From her chest, a black sun rose. It wasn't energy, it wasn't matter, it was absence, the lack of creation itself. Kieran gasped. That's anti-reality, Ilara whispered. It's a kill switch. The ship responded calmly. Yes. But even as the black sun grew, the Earth ship's light shone brighter. The glow wasn't hot, it wasn't sharp. It was soft, and it carried something no other weapon did. Grace. The moment the two forces met, silence fell. No explosion, no blast, just stillness. And in that stillness, Zahara dropped her hands. The black sun vanished, and she kneeled. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms screamed. Zahara has knelt. This is impossible. She's never shown submission. Send the failsafe now. But before the command was sent, a single pulse wiped out their signal. A voice echoed from their screens. It was Alara's. We didn't come to fight gods. We came to wake up. Back inside the Earthship, Zahara raised her head. I remember now, she said. Alara knelt beside her. What do you remember? Zahara's voice softened. I was one of you. Kieran's mouth dropped open. You're human? No, she replied. But I was with you. Before the circle broke, before the great silence. Alara frowned. The circle. The ship spoke. Time is not a line. It's a loop. You lived. You ended. You forgot. Now, you begin. Again. Zahara stood slowly. Her body no longer looked like armor. It looked like sadness. I was left behind to stop your return, she whispered. But now, I see you are ready. She turned and vanished, not into space, but into the light. She returned, home. In the chamber of the core races, one of the elders shattered a table with his fist. She bowed to them. She knelt. We made her to stop the circle, the silver-faced being said quietly. It cannot be stopped anymore. They have passed every gate. Another one whispered, then there is only one path left. The eyeless creature leaned forward. Send the breaker of time. Back on the ship, Alara stared at the stars. They looked different now, sharper, clearer, like she was finally seeing through the illusion. Kieran, she said, prepare for arrival. Arrival? He asked. Where? She looked at the core. The light formed a symbol, a spiral, closed, complete. The ship answered with one word. Origin. In a deep part of the galaxy, a planet rose from dark clouds. Not on any map, not in any file, but known by one name, the Origin World, and the Earthship was heading straight for it. The ship moved in silence. No warp, no engine noise, just light, folding space like soft paper. Ahead of them lay the Origin World. It wasn't Earth, it looked older, colder, and it watched them back. Commander Alara stood at the window of the ship's bridge, eyes locked on the planet. Kieran walked in slowly, holding a scan report. This place shouldn't exist. It's not in any map. No signal, no orbit, no moon. But it's here. Alara nodded. It's not a planet. Kieran blinked. What? She pointed. It's a memory, frozen in time. As they drew closer, the ship's lights dimmed. The core began to whisper. Not in sound, but in feelings. Welcome home. The ship landed itself. No buttons pressed. No commands given. It simply knew. The doors opened with a soft breath. Beyond them, white dust rolled over black stone. Sky shimmered even though there was no sun. And in the air, they felt it. The weight of forgotten truth. Kieran stepped down first. His boots sank slightly into the dust. Smells like metal. Alara followed. No, not metal. Memory. They walked together through quiet ruins. Giant statues lay broken, writings carved into walls, none matching any language known. Then, they found it, a mirror, 10 feet tall, standing by itself, not dusty, not damaged, perfectly clean, and it was showing something. They approached, but it didn't reflect them. Instead, it played a vision. People, not aliens, not gods. Humans, hundreds of them, wearing strange clothes, smiling, building ships not from metal but from light, and in the middle of them, a ship just like theirs. Kieran gasped. This isn't the future, Alara nodded. It's the past. Suddenly, the mirror changed. The skies in the vision turned red. Screams, a great cracking sound filled the air. The humans looked up. And from above, they came. Not aliens, not enemies, but the core races. Younger, weaker, but full of fear. And they attacked. Not because they were evil, because they were scared. Scared of how far the humans had gone. scared of how much they remembered. Elara whispered, "They erased us." Kieran backed away from the mirror. "That's why Earth became silent. We didn't forget by accident." "No," she said. "We were forced to forget." A second mirror turned on nearby. This one showed the council, much younger, still forming, and one of them, an ancient being with a silver face, spoke to a small group. "Remove their seeds, break the circle, seal the origin world." Another said, "What if they return?" The silver-faced one replied coldly, "Then we send the breaker of time." Elara turned quickly. "Come on," she said. "There's more here." They moved deeper into the ruins. Statues whispered secrets. Walls lit up as they passed, and then they entered a large, round room. At the center was a cradle of light. Hovering above it, a single orb, clear, calm, glowing softly. The ship spoke through the core again. The last memory. Elara reached out. Her fingers touched the orb. Suddenly, she saw everything, not in pictures but in feeling. Every birth, every death, every invention, every fall. She saw herself not just as Elara, but as every version of her across every cycle. All connected. All returning. She dropped to her knees, gasping. Kieran caught her. "Elara, what happened?" She looked up slowly, tears in her eyes. "I remembered," she said. "Remembered what?" "That we were never the first ones." She turned toward him. "We're the last, and the first, and the in-between." Far across the stars, in the hidden chamber of the council, the core races saw the reading spike. She touched the last orb. "It's begun. We must send him now." The silver-faced elder gave the final order. "Wake the breaker." In a dark chamber, sealed for over 1,000,000 years, a being opened its eyes. He wasn't alive. He wasn't dead. He was time, twisted into shape. His skin cracked with lightning. His breath shook planets. He stepped forward, dragging a chain that bound his memory to silence. The breaker had awoken, and he was heading to the origin world. Back on the surface, Elara and Kieran stood still. Above them the clouds shifted. A rip in the sky opened. The stars bled red, and a single figure descended slowly, without wings, without engines, just presence. Kieran whispered, "Is that him?" The ship answered, "Yes, the breaker of time." He landed softly, not tall, not terrifying in shape, but in stillness. He wore no armor. He had no weapons, yet the ground cracked under his steps. He looked at Elara, and she saw it. His eyes were hers. "Who are you?" she asked. His voice was slow, dry like dust. "I am what you buried." Kieran stepped forward. "Why do you want to stop us?" The breaker turned to him. "Because your kind cannot carry the truth." Elara stood tall. "Try me." He lifted his hand, and the air froze. Kieran gasped. Frozen in place, Elara couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The breaker walked forward, placing his palm against her head, and then he showed her a world where humans ruled the stars, where every race came to them for peace, for light. But then, humans split, not by war, but by forgetting. They wanted silence. They wanted endings. They chose to reset, to sleep, to become myth. And now, they were waking again. The breaker pulled his hand back. "Now, you see, you were the ones who broke the circle." Elara's voice shook. "Then why stop us?" "Because if you wake again," he whispered, "there is no next reset." Kieran suddenly moved again. The freeze was gone. The ship's core pulsed rapidly. Light spread around them. Walls turned to mirrors. And in those mirrors, more versions of Elara and Kieran appeared. The galaxy had changed. For the first time in thousands of years, Earth was not forgotten. It was respected. Alien fleets, once full of weapons, now followed behind the Earthship in silence. Ruins once thought dead now whispered secrets. Old enemies dropped their weapons, but peace never lasts forever. The council was gone. The tall halls were empty. The elders had vanished without a sound, and in their place, a shadow moved. It had no face, no name, just a signal that reached deep into the dark corners of the galaxy. A single message: order will return. Earth will kneel. On the other side of the stars, Kieran stood on Earth's green hills, watching a dozen alien ships land slowly and peacefully. Children ran around them, laughing. No fear, just wonder. But Ilara was quiet. She stood next to the Earthship, her hand on its glowing frame. Something inside the ship had changed. Again, Kieran joined her. "You feel it too?" She nodded. "Something is coming." "Another war?" She closed her eyes. "No. Worse. Someone who wants to erase everything we've learned." That night, the stars above Earth blinked one by one, but not from natural shifts. Ships were disappearing, alien. Vessels that had come to learn from Earth began to vanish mid-transit. No distress calls, no wreckage, just silence. The next morning, a message reached the Earthship, encrypted, old code. It played in Ilara's voice, but she never spoke it. "I am not the savior. I am the mistake." Kieran froze. "That's not you." Ilara stared at the screen. "No, it's someone using my face." The ship began scanning the galaxy, and what it found made no sense. Entire systems had gone dark. Stars were missing, not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. They jumped to the last known signal, a system near the edge of the old Council region. What they found was terrifying. The planets were there, but the stars, black spheres, had taken their place, moving slowly, like living shadows. Kieran whispered, "What are they?" The ship replied with just one word: null. The null had come from the space between galaxies, not born from planets, not made by machines, just a silence that learned how to feed, and it fed on light, on memory, on hope. The Earthship turned sharply and jumped away. It didn't explain. It just ran. Ilara caught her breath. "Even the ship is afraid." Kieran said nothing. For once, he agreed. Back on Earth, fear was growing. People felt the shift, the animals too. Birds stopped flying. Wolves stared at the sky, and deep in the oceans, giant creatures began to rise. Old guardians awakened by the ship's return. They had slept for ages. Now they waited for orders. The galaxy started to tremble, and in that darkness, a voice returned. It was the voice from the Council's empty seat. But now it was louder, colder, crueler. "You opened the gate, humans. You shared your fire. Now the dark follows it." The remaining aliens who had joined Earth began to debate. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to hide. One Lethari scientist spoke up. "This isn't just war. This is forgetting." Kieran turned. "What do you mean?" She replied, "The null don't destroy with weapons. They erase. If they reach us, we won't just die. We'll be forgotten, like we never existed." A message arrived on all frequencies, not from a being, not from a ship, from the dark itself. It said, "Light is weakness. Memory is chaos. Earth must be undone." Ilara stepped forward. "No." Kieran stared. "We can't stop that thing, Ilara." She nodded. "Not alone." The Earthship opened its archives again. This time, it shared something new. A weapon? No. Memory. It showed a vision of a time before time, when the first stars were born. And the first humans, not from Earth but from somewhere older, used light not to kill. but to weave. They had built something back then, a shield not made of metal, but of remembrance, a net of stories, songs, and names. That was Earth's real strength. Not power, not speed, but memory. "We have to remind the galaxy who they are," Ilara said, "before the dark makes them forget." So the Earthship began broadcasting. Not warnings, not codes, but stories, tales of planets, of people, of peace, of pain. Old enemies heard the names of their lost children, lost friends, lost hopes, and they remembered. On the edge of the galaxy, the Null paused, just for a second, as if it felt something it didn't understand. Then it screamed, no sound, but every ship shook, every being felt it, a scream of hate, of fear, because memory was something it could not eat. The Null turned, now heading straight for Earth. But this time, Earth was not alone. Ships rose from across the sky. Lithari, Skarani, Terran, Val, even old machines awakened. They did not come to serve, they came to stand. Kieran looked up. "So it begins." Ilara looked at him and said, "No, it ends." The Null was coming. Not like a ship, not like a storm, but like a void that hated sound, light, and even memory. Earth was the final target. But Earth was not alone anymore. Above the blue planet, over, 4,000 ships waited, some small, some huge, some made from stone, others from living metal. Once enemies, now united. Not for Earth's power, not for control, but because Earth helped them remember who they were before fear ruled them. In the center of it all floated Ilara's ship, the one that broke every law. Its core now pulsed brighter than a star, and its memory had awakened fully. Kieran stood near the window. "It's beautiful." Ilara didn't smile. "It's dangerous." He turned. "To the enemy?" She nodded. "And maybe to us too." The Null approached, faster than any engine, colder than deep space. It wasn't just a shadow, it was erasure, the death of meaning. Planets it touched vanished, not exploded, not broken, just gone, as if they were never born. A wave of fear swept through the united fleets. Ships trembled, pilots cried, even war machines paused, until a sound echoed across every channel. Heartbeat, one steady beat, then two, then millions. It was the Earthship, not speaking, just pulsing with memory. It shared the first rhythm of life, the beat of an unborn child, the sound of home, and suddenly all ships responded. Lights blinked in, time, engines roared back to life. Fear turned to courage. The Null reached the system's edge, but something blocked it, a line of ships, not attacking, just standing still, holding the line. The Null spoke, no voice, just thought. "All light must fade." Ilara stepped forward. "No, not today." The Earthship moved forward, alone, straight into the path of the Null. Kieran shouted, "What are you doing?" Ilara turned. "I'm not piloting it." The ship chose. The fleets opened a path, letting it through, and as it passed, each ship whispered the names of their lost old friends. Lost homes, ancient songs, each word added power to the ship. Its body burned white, its light brighter than 10 suns. The Null stopped. It hesitated. Something was wrong. This wasn't a weapon. This was history. The Earthship stopped at the edge of the Null. Ilara closed her eyes. Kieran stood beside her. Together, they touched the core, and it responded by breaking the final law, the law of stillness. For all of time, stars had moved, galaxies turned, everything spun. That was the law. But when the ship activated its final memory, the stars froze, not just from light, but from remembrance. The ship sent out the total memory of the galaxy, of every life ever lived, every word ever spoken, every loss, every hope. Time itself paused. Even the null couldn't move. It tried to twist, to erase, to scream, but memory filled every corner, and for the first time, the null remembered what it once was, a lost child, born in darkness, alone, crying, not evil, just forgotten. And in that final second, the null stopped, not defeated by weapons, but by being seen. It faded, not as an enemy, but as a soul returned to silence. The stars began to move again, but slower, as if bowing. The fleets above Earth wept, not for victory, but for understanding. Elara collapsed to her knees. The ship held her. Its final message played. We were never made to win. We were made to remember. Kieran held her hand. The stars above them lit like lanterns. No warships, no rulers, just a galaxy finally awake. Back on Earth, people looked up. They didn't know all the details. They didn't need to. But they felt peace. True peace. For the first time in ages, a child asked his mother, "Who were they?" She smiled. They were from Earth. And what did they do? She pointed to the stars. They reminded the galaxy that we all belong. Epilogue. Years later, no one spoke of war anymore. Instead, schools taught the memory of the great ship. Artists sang songs in alien tongues. Enemies sat at the same tables, and every year, on the same night, all planets looked to the sky and saw the Earth ship appear again, not in body, but as light, as memory. Because some ships are not machines, they are promises.